Hey everyone, Fratum here, and tonight I wanted to take a look at a tiling window manager. I've heard a lot about them, and it seems like a lot of people in the Linux community feel that using a tiling window manager is more efficient for getting work done, and that if you work in the Linux community that you should be running one. And it seems like everyone that I've talked to that runs a tiling window manager swears they'll never go back to a regular window manager again. So this has got my curiosity kind of piqued, so I thought I would take a look at it. When I first launched i3, I was really confused as to what this really was. It was just weird. I logged into it, I installed it, logged into it, and I was prompted with this blank screen. It's like, what the heck? I mean, I noticed that, yeah, there's some stats down here, so it's definitely doing something. It has the time and date and tells me I don't have a battery and tells me my Ethernet connection and all that stuff. But what is this? I didn't get it. I was lost. So the first time I ever ran it, I got this far and said, I click on things, nothing pops up. There's no menus, nothing. So I was totally confused as to what to do here. And I just gave up on it and went back to my regular old GNOME 3 desktop or whatever I was running, probably Cinnamon at the time. Recently, matter of fact, just the last few days, I decided to give it another try, and I wanted to learn more about how this works. So what I learned was that, yes, you get this when you first log in, a blank screen. i3 and most tiling window managers are really basic, and they don't present you with pop-up menus and a taskbar with a clickable menu. Everything is keyboard driven, so you barely even really need a mouse. So when you first install i3, it'll ask you to define your modifier key, and I went ahead and set mine as the Windows key since there's no other use for that key anyways, so might as well use it. So I set up the modifier key to be Windows. And then the first thing I learned was to get to a terminal, all you have to do is hit modify and enter, and then boom, you have a full screen terminal, which, you know, that's nice. But if I just wanted to have a full screen terminal, I would just not even bother loading up X, right? I would just load into single user or into a non-GUI. I wouldn't have a greeter installed. But that's not the point here. The point is we want efficient, right? And we want a windowing window manager. So I learned that if you hit your modifier key and enter again, you have another terminal. Okay, but I can't move anything. Well, you know what? This is a tiling window manager. So we're tiling. Every time you open up a window, it tiles it on the screen instead of stacking it or floating it on top of other windows. So Windows will never be obscured by another window. You'll always be able to see what you have running. So if I hit another modifier as V to change it to vertical tiling, so if I hit modifier and then V and then modifier and enter, it now puts a terminal below my current active terminal. So if I select this terminal as my active and I hit modifier enter, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Well, it put it to the side. So you have to do modifier V and then modify enter. And boom. See, now I've got 5 terminals on my screen. You might be thinking, yeah, so what? Who wants 5 terminals? Well, if you work in the Linux world and you do sysadmin work, this is actually kind of nice to have these up, and you can run different things in different windows and see what's going on, and at a glance, everything's there, and you don't have to fumble around to see what windows, what's going on in each window. You can just see it. It's great for watching logs. It's great for coding if you're doing web stuff or anything where you need to see what your output is. So if you're writing some HTML and then you want to see what it looks like, you can have the HTML in a browser. So how would we run a browser, right? That's the question. We don't have a menu. How do we get to our browser? Well, in i3, it's the modifier key, in my case Windows, I'll just say Win key from now on, and then D launches something called D menu, and you see up here at the top I now have a bar, and it is basically a search, and it auto completes and it'll launch whatever programs you want to run. So if I want to run Chromium, I just type in Chromium and then enter, and now see, it tiled it onto the screen with all the rest. So now if I was doing some kind of modification over here to the web pages, I could see the changes I'm making in the Chromium window, and I can, look and see what it's doing to my system load over here. I can see if there's any system kernel, if anything core dumps. I can see if my connectivity is still going, and I can have another terminal for whatever I need to do. So you're thinking, oh God, that sucks. Look at that little teeny browser window. You can't even barely use it. I mean, can you even watch a YouTube video in it? Well, yeah, but it's going to be tiny. So the other thing you can do is you can define workspaces. And workspaces isn't anything new. It's something that's pretty much exists in every window manager. But workspaces coupled with a tiling window manager actually makes a lot more sense, because you can dedicate a workspace for a specific type of task and then go to it with a quick key combo, so you can bounce back and forth. So I'm going to stuff the browser into its own workspace, and the way I do that is Win key, Shift, and then a number, and the number is the workspace number. So right now, if you look down in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, I have a 1. So I only have one workspace. So now if I do Win, Shift, 2, my browser... Oh, I didn't have it selected. I just sent something else over there. Well, anyways, I just sent a terminal over to Workspace 2, and you'll notice Workspace 2 just appeared down here. So we can click on it, and there's that. Now I can put this back, Win, Shift, 1... and go back to 1, and then take my browser and put it into 2. Now notice the browser's gone. Now if I go to the workspace number 2, it's my full screen browser. I can either, to get to my other workspaces, I can either hit the buttons down here, or if I don't want to use a mouse at all, that's the beauty of this tiling window manager. You really don't need a mouse. You can do everything without a mouse. But if I do Windows key and 2, so almost the same as sending something there, but this time we're not going to hit the Shift key. So Windows 2 takes me to my browser. And then Windows 1 back to my terminal. So I can dedicate Workspace 1 for terminal stuff, Workspace 2 for my browser, and then Workspace 3, I could put something else in here. So WinD, GNOME, Photos, enter. That should give me a photo viewer, and that's my third workspace. So if I want to go back to my browser, there's my terminals, and there's my photo viewer. And there is a way to make it so that when you boot into your system, certain apps auto launch into those workspaces, so that you can permanently set Workspace 2 to always be your browser, and anytime you hit to go to number 2, you will have a browser there. I've seen some pretty neat setups for it. Some of the other key commands, like for example, I want to get out of viewer, but well, see, since it's a GNOME app, I have an X, but they don't seem to work. Well, the X works, but if you don't have an X, so I don't have an X for this browser, Win Shift Q, that closes a program. Sorry guys, I'm still new at this. So Win Shift Q, Win Shift Q, Win Shift Q. Oops. Oh yeah, because there's an application running. Close terminal. Okay, so now I'm down to 2 tiled windows here. One thing you can do is you can stack by doing Win Shift S, and now they're stacked. So I got a full screen here, and if I want to switch that one, I can click there and look at that one. So we'll run top here. And to switch back to a tiling mode, I can do Win E, and there's our tiling mode. Now, if I want to take a window and for some reason I want to go back to the old floating style of a window manager, I can do Win Shift Space, and now, as you can see, I can grab, and now I have a floating window. Or I can go back by hitting Win Shift Space again. So you can float a window, but from what I've been reading, most people rarely do that. Once you get used to the whole hotkeys and the tiling, then I hear that, you never go back. It's one of those things that once you really get used to it, it's just pretty awesome. Some other really cool things, if you let's move this back to our first window manager so we can have some. So we have 3 windows open here, and we want to resize. You can just click the top to resize. Actually, that's interesting because older versions of i3 didn't let you do this. You actually had to do Command R, and you could use the arrow keys to resize, as you can see here, up and down. Win Shift H. There we go. So now we're back here. To resize, it's Win Shift R, and then right and left. Oh. Nope, just Win R. Right will grow the current window you're in, and left arrow will shrink it. So that's just the basics of i3 Tiling Manager, and I think that this is one of those things that if you played around with, you'd probably get used to it and really like it. I think I could. I don't know how well it would work on a gaming rig. So this is obviously, well, not obvious to you, but this is running in a virtual machine for me. So I haven't installed this on any of my production machines. I just not sure if I'm ready to take that leap. So I don't know. It's a hard one to choose, to decide. So overall, I think it's a neat concept, and I can see how in an environment where you're doing a lot of sysadmin work or programming work or web development work, that this could be extremely useful and efficient and fast. I'm not quite ready to take the leap and do this yet, but I am playing around with it in a VM to just kind of get the feeling of it and see what all the hubbub is about it. And so far, I really do like the idea and the concept. I'm just not sure if I have the willpower to stick to it and do it. I'm old school. I'm used to window managers that we've been using for the past 20 plus years since Windows 3.1, I think the original Windows 2, this is an old concept. Windows 2 was a tiling manager, and Windows 3.0 was probably the first Windows that was more of a floating window manager. And I guess old school Mac and maybe even a little bit of OS X can be considered kind of tiling, but not really. They do that full bar for each app, but you can still stack windows on top of each other. So it's kind of a hybrid. So it's not a new idea. It's been out for a long time. It is popular. It seems to be real popular amongst the programmers and the sysadmin types. So we'll see. Anyway, so that's our first look at a tiling window manager. And the one that I used in this video is i3. It's available on most popular distributions. I installed it on Antergos with the simple pacman command to install i3. And I had to add one extra dependency that it didn't catch, and that was the dmenu dependency. And that's it. It works. And it shows up as a choice from my greeter as a window manager. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gave you kind of an insight of what other types of window managers are out there to make your Linux experience totally different. That I have seen that there are ways to totally customize this thing to make it look really nice. You can set up backgrounds. You can set up that bar on the bottom to look better and the bar on the top to look better. And you can have stuff auto launch when you start and start up in its own workspace, and supposedly really customizable. It's supposedly one of the most customizable desktops that you can get out there. So, you know what? Give it a try. If you want to try it, give it a try. There is a great reference card that you can get off of the i3windowmanager.org website. I'll post the link below, And that I think print that out and have it close by, because it's going to have all the most commonly used keyboard shortcuts that are used in i3. Anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share, and I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, and have a great night.